everyone. You know we love shining the spotlight on amazing books on this show. Valley of the Birdtail, this book is one such book. It tells the story of an Indigenous and white community that is divided by a river and 150 years of racism. Here to speak about the book and why reconciliation matters in Canada and in Canadian education are its authors Andrew Stobo Sniderman and Douglas Sanderson. Thank you for joining us. So Andrew, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us more about what this book is about and why was it important for you to write it?
Thanks for having us. So this book tells the story of two families. One of them is a Ukrainian-Canadian family, another's an Indigenous family, and we followed the families over many generations, over 150 years, to try to explain how did we get to where we are today in Canada with such unequal outcomes for Indigenous peoples, and where might we go from there? And I think one of the things that make the book special is that we're trying to really reflect the point of view of an Indigenous community and of a white community, and we've done that as a co-author team of a white person and an Indigenous person.
What was that process like for you to do this together?
It was actually a lot of fun. I had co-authored some stuff before with people, but this was the start of the pandemic, and so we were night after night in our basements on Zoom, using Google Docs to write together, really trying to rewrite each other's work, and it was really it was fun. It became very workmanlike, and after a while, it was never clear to me whether I wrote this or whether Stobo wrote it.
Well, that's a perfect relationship then. That's a perfect writing relationship. I love that. So the book highlights the education imbalance that continues to occur between Indigenous and non-Indigenous students in Manitoba and right across Canada. Douglas, how did this imbalance begin, and why is it continuing to this day, or what are your thoughts on that?
Thanks. So there's a really weird quirk of the Constitution that means that education is the responsibility of the provinces, except in the case of Indians. And that's how we could have a system like residential schools, because it was a completely separate education system. And that system eventually ended, and what Stobo and I found out was that even after the system ended, for about 40 years, Indigenous schools on reserve continued to be underfunded by as much as 40% per year. And of course, had staggering effects, bad teachers, bad principals, staff that won't stay, no textbooks, no technology. And so Indigenous children have, even since the closure of the residential schools, received a subpar education in Canada.
Now, you also focus on a family of Ukrainian immigrants. And Douglas, tell us more about their experiences.
Yes, this is one of my favorite parts about writing the book, was learning this story that I should have been attuned to many years earlier. When I was a young man, I lived in the prairies. There were Ukrainians everywhere. Never asked why. Ukrainians are part of this background trope of Canada. And of course, when the war started, we were all told there's more Ukrainians here than anywhere else in the world as immigrants. And what we discovered was in the start of the 19th century, Canada made a conscious effort to recruit specifically Ukrainian peasants who were fleeing from Russian oppression at the time. And so it's no accident that the prairies were settled entirely by Ukrainians. It was the choice and the intention of a single minister of the crown named Sifton, who paid agents to go and attract all of these immigrants, largely to displace the Indigenous people who would have been living on the prairies.
Ah, okay. Now, as time goes on, you see that there are real differences in terms of the advancements of folks that have come in from abroad and the folks that are native to Canada. And that sets us up on a discourse of, well, why can we get ahead and we're new here and you can't get ahead and you've been here? Like, do you find that comes up a lot in the discourse?
Yeah, I want to let Andrew, I think, take that on.
Yeah, that's right. People come to explain their own success in terms of their own hard work and their virtues, and if other people are not doing well, it's because they're lazy or they're stupid. And one of the things we're trying to do in this book is to show all the background ways that the government was helping one community succeed and another one making it almost impossible for them to succeed, and ensuring their failure, actually.
And those are the stories that we don't necessarily hear unless we hear from Indigenous voices, right? So I'm going to give this one to Douglas. What will reconciliation look like? It's a big question, but what are you thinking reconciliation might look like?
Valley of the Birdtail focuses primarily on education to show how the two paths diverged. But the differences in outcomes are the same in education as they are in healthcare, and access to the justice system, representation in boardrooms, in university classrooms. So reconciliation, we think, is going to look like equality in all of these areas. We picked education because it was easy to work with historically, but all of those areas are underfunded currently, and what we want to see is a world where Indigenous kids grow up to be proud that they're Indigenous in a vibrant school system and in vibrant communities.
Thank you for continuing the conversation, and it's so amazing that you were both able to add your voices in and create this work together. So congratulations on this incredible book, and I'm so happy you're both here to share your story with us. Thank you.